finding it difficult. Now for the assignment, I've been marking the assignment. I started with this week 5 assignment. Now, if you look at this week 5, you'll see that 102 persons submitted it, and it is 10 questions. I have to go through them one by one for each person. So, which is why it takes time. It takes time, and I haven't looked at week 6. Week 6, we have only 95 persons. The number is dropping. It's expected. But the assignment should not be your focus. No, submitting it shouldn't be your goal. If you do the assignment and you know you got the assignment, whether you submit it or not, doesn't really matter. But for the sake of getting a certificate with CareerEx, submit something. Whether it's complete, whether it's not complete, submit something. But we may not be waiting because of the assignment. So this is what I will do. I will start a new project, create a new folder, create a new server. You will watch me do it. If you have any question, you ask. But I will try to be fast because this needs to be done in less than 1 hour. Submitting week 6. Week 6 is actually what we are talking about, the week 6 assignment. That is the one we are going to. Week 5 and week 6 combined together is what I want to do now. But I think it is open right now. You can submit it now before I start. I think the assignment submission is still open right now. So submit it now before I start. I am starting or at, let's say, 3:15. Yeah, so I think 3:15 shouldn't be allowed anymore. So I have an empty folder. I will open this folder with VS Code here. I'm doing this for the sake of those who don't know how to set up a project. If you are not in this class and you miss it, we may not set up a project again. We'll move on. Yes, I've not finished marking all of week 5. I'm still marking some week 5. So I have an empty folder here. Just open with VS Code. An empty folder. I want to confirm that I'm actually recording this. Yes, I am. So the first thing I want to do is to initialize npm. Before anything, I need to initialize npm. So I'll open my terminal, npm init -y or -y. Hit enter. It's going to create a package.json file. Now the package.json file is the most important file which you do not delete. Now here I have my main, and for now I need 2 dependencies. I need Express and I need NodeMon. Express for the server and NodeMon to restart the server. That is what we are doing. I'm doing the correction for the assignment, both for week 5 and week 6 combined, so that with anything we are missing, we need to cover up whatever we are missing before we proceed. Otherwise, we're going to be having bigger issues. So the first thing I'll do, or the next thing, will be to install Express. Now, Express as a dependency. So I say npm init or npm I. That is, I stands for install. Now, if you don't want to type it in full, you can do I. npm install Express. And it says I have, for you will not experience this issue. I'm experiencing this because I need to enter my password. So I will use sudo. You don't need to do this part. Doing npm express will work for you. Sudo npm install express. Notice I installed the express as a normal dependency. Now I have express installed. You can confirm that by going to my package.json file. I have express. The next thing I want to do is to install node1 sudo npm install -d node1. The D there means that node1 is a dev dependency. So sudo npm install -d node1. Hit enter. You don't need to do sudo. I am doing sudo because of my laptop. So I have my dev dependency. I have my normal dependency. The next thing I want to do, since I'm still here, I will set up my script. The first script will be the start script. The second script will be the dev script. Now my main file is going to be index.js because here I'm specifying that it has to be index.js. Now I think I'm saying too much. So if you can hear me and you are following, please drop a thumbs up so that I know you can actually hear me and you can see my screen. If you can hear me and you can see my screen, drop a thumbs up. All right. So for my start script, I want Node to run the main file. The main file is index.js here. So I will say Node run index.js. And then for my dev script, I want node1 to run index.js. And I'll save. So I have my package.json file complete. The next thing I want to do is to create this main file. So I will come here, click on file, create index.js and hit enter. Now index.js is just the normal JavaScript file. The first thing I want to do is to bring in express. I'll say const express is equal to require express. So I've brought in express. The next thing I want to set up is my backend, call it app, and say the app should run on the express function. So bring in express, set up the app, and ask the app to run on the express function. And the app needs to listen, but it needs to listen on a port. So I will set up or create a port and say my port is going to be coming from the process.env, the port in the process.env, or it should use 8000. Now this 8000 is just my own number. You can use 4000, 5000, 6000, 80, 80, 40, 40, whatever number you want, but provided it is 4 digits. It has to be 4 digits. The next thing will be to ask the app to listen, app.listen, listen on port. So now it is listening on port, but there is no way I will know that this has started listening. I have some comments in question. Okay, not this one. Okay, so I need to add a callback function here, an arrow function. The arrow function is not going to do anything but to just log. It will console log something for me. So I will say server running on whatever the port is. Give me the port. And save. So this is how to set up the server. the first thing you do, or will I say the first part of your code to write for backend, is to set up the server. This is how you will set up the server, even in a company project. That is the first thing you do, because the server is a part of the backend that will be running 24/7, listening to requests from anywhere. So I am done with my server, but I need to check if my server is running. This is a folder. I will need to open my terminal on this folder. We've not talked about env for now. We're going to talk about env for now, but just assume that there is something called env and there is a port in that env. For now, we don't have it. When you deploy this project, you will have env. As we go forward, we are going to create env. For now, we don't. So I will run my server by going to this test project and opening a terminal here. Zoom in. And I will say npm run dev or npm dev, anyone. Npm run dev. And it says server running on port 8000. Now, this is how it will be running even in the cloud. When you deploy it to cloud, you're going to see this message before you know that your project is actually running. Now my server is running, is listening, but it will not do anything. It will not do anything. The next thing to do is start building APIs. The question I gave you as assignment is a perfect example of what APIs are. Get drugs, antibiotic drugs. You are going to be building APIs as a backend. That is your main job, building APIs. You can build 100 APIs, 200 APIs. Here we have 10 APIs to build. So the first part is to set up your server, and then you start building your API. This is exactly how you will build it on any project, like real life project. This same thing you do here. The only difference here is that this array is hard coded, but the arrays you'll be working with will be the database. We're going to move to database next. So for now, our database is hard coded. We can see all the data. But after now, you will not be seeing all the data. So what would I do? I'll copy the data. This is the data to work with. I'll copy it, come to my project, and paste it here in my project. You see, I didn't paste it inside any function. Most persons did the assignment without even copying the array. So I begin to assume, did you run the project? Because if you run the project, it will fail. You did the assignment without the array. But that's beside the point. So I have my array, which is serving as the database. The first thing is to build a test API, app.get. App.get. Now I want to believe we know the different type of requests: a get request, a post request, a delete request, and a patch request. So a get request, this is the first request you build. This accepts the request function, the object, and the response object here. And then you return the response.json, and inside here you put a message that will say, welcome to CareerEx server. We'll get to that part, but we'll be using MongoDB. We'll get to that part. Now, this API is important because this is the API that the front-end developer will use to connect to your backend. They may forget anything, but they will always remember /. So this / will tell them whether they've connected to your backend or not. Until this runs, they will not proceed. They will need to run this and test it, confirm that the API is they are connecting to your backend APIs. So, but this is not part of our assignment, but I just had to bring it in. It's compulsory. Every backend you build, you must have this test API that tells them welcome to the server. So the first API says the name of the endpoint should be /drugs /antibiotics. It should return all the drugs that are in the category of antibiotics. So I will come here. Now, this is a GET request. I labeled it here. It's a GET request. So I will come here and say app.get. And the name of the endpoint should be /drugs /antibiotics. Then I will build the function to handle the request. So the function accepts the request object and the response object. What should it do? Take all the drugs and filter them, return the ones that the category is antibiotics. So I'll come here. The drugs is this. I'll copy the drugs and I'll say const antibiotics is equal to drugs dot filter. So filter is a higher array method. It accepts a callback function. Then I'll say each return each dot category is double equals. So the antibiotics is this. Return the ones that the category is equal to antibiotics. So the next thing I want to do is a response.json. I can then add the antibiotics here. This is an endpoint. This is how it will be done. The difference now is that I am querying a static database, but in a real sense, you'll be querying a live database and then return it. If I want to add anything to this, I will, but for now, I'm not. I'm going to skip here and leave it like this. How do I test this? I will need to open Postman and test that this is working. So I'll click on Postman to open Postman. Now, in the assignment, week 5 assignment, the mistake some persons made was to do this. Just one equal. It is wrong to use one equal. One equal means you are assigning. You are assigning. You are not comparing. So I'll come back here to my CareerEx cohort. So here, because it's a GET request, I'll just change the request to GET. Make sure my port is connected and everything working. So I'll come here. I don't need these ones, so I can delete these ones. Get request localhost port 8000 / I don't need / because it's default. So it says welcome to CareerEx server. We are connected. Testing on open terminal. I don't know what you mean by this, but we'll talk about it later. Let's just finish up. So I have this. The next thing I want to do is to test this endpoint. I'll copy this endpoint and add it here. Then send. I have an error It says antibiotic is not defined. So what I'm supposed to do is say each, the category is equal to antibiotic as a string, because the antibiotic here is a string. So I'll save this again, be sure that my server has restarted, come back and send. Now I have these things here. So if you look at them, the category here is antibiotic, category here is antibiotic, category here is antibiotic, category here is antibiotic. In the back end, you must run it. So my screen is lagging. Are you serious? Do I need to restart my internet? Okay, it's not. All right. Let's continue. Now, we may not finish it, but it's fine. I'm returning the first API. The second API says, drug names. Return an array of all drug names converted to lowercase. Return an array of all drug names converted to lowercase. So I'll come back here, app.get, paste the endpoint name, put the callback function that will handle the request object and the response object. Take the drugs again, const drug names is equal to drugs dot map. Map will take a callback function, accept each, then return each dot name. I want to believe there is a name. Return each dot name, and then send a response back. Res.json drug names, and see, that is it. And like I said, this is exactly how we build APIs. Now, all of this put together is called APIs. The app, the request type, the endpoint, and the function that handles the request. All of them together is what we call APIs. So I will save this and test it again on Postman. But it has to return those names in lowercase. Some persons made mistakes here. You are not just returning the names, but it has to come back in lowercase. So you need to add dot to lowercase, not to local lowercase. Some person use this. If they run the project, they will know that it didn't work, but they submitted it like that. To lowercase, this one, and then add this. Save it, and come back to test it again. So on Postman, I will open another request, change the endpoint name to this, and send. Now it's returning an array of all the names in lowercase. That is, I say, return an array of all drug names converted to lowercase. Number 2 says, accept the name of a category and return all the drugs that are in that category. So to build that API, this one, I will close this, build another API, app.post. And because it's going to be accepting in the body, it's a post request. I want to believe we explained this. A post request that is going to accept a callback function. The function will handle the request object and the response object. The same way you are doing it here. I why I'm stressing it, because I don't want to hear you complain that you can't set up a server, you can't build an API. We've passed that one. At this point, even though you're a newbie, at this point you've passed it. You have passed it by far. So please, there's nothing here. It's very simple. There's nothing here. So I want to accept category in the body. It has already been written here that you'll be accepting category in the body. So category in the body. Now we come back here and say const the structure from the body. This is me destructuring. But if you don't want to destructure, you can do it this way. Category is equal to request dot body dot category. Meaning that in the body of the request, there is going to be category. Take it and save it inside here. This is one way. The second way is to destructure const request.body. Now, this means when you see something like this, I'm trying to create a variable, but the variable will come from the request.body. So there is a key called category in the request.body. You don't destructure when there is no key in that body. You destructure when you know very well that the front end is going to be sending you this key. That is when you destructure. Otherwise, your app will crash. But when you know, now if they are not sending it, you can do validations. You can do a validation and say, if not category. If they are not sending me a category, I want to return a response .json, and the message will be please enter a category. Please enter a category. This is for when they are not sending category, but they are going to be sending it. So if they are sending me categories, I want to take these drugs, filter them, and return the ones that belong to that category. So I'll say const with a drug categorize or categorize drugs, anyone, is equal to drugs dot filter. Filter will accept a callback function, taking each one, then return each dot category equivalent to the category that is being passed in. So what I'm saying here is that filter the drugs, take each one. Now check the ones that their category matches this category that is coming in the body. That's what this is doing. Check all of them. Anyone that the category matches the category that is being sent in the body, return it. So I'll say res.json return drug categorized, and that is it. So this is one way, but here in the option, we said use express.json to handle incoming post requests. This means that even if I add category in the body, the backend will not see it. I need to use a body parser. This is called a body parser to handle it. Whatever is in the body, for the application to see what is in the body, you need to use a body parser. So I will come back here and say app to use the body parser. The body parser is express.json and then invoke it. Save. That is it. So the next thing I want to do is to test this on, first I'll copy this API. Then come back to Postman, create a new request, change it to post, and change the name of the endpoint. It doesn't have to be two. It has to be a post request. Go to the body. This is the body. And then make it raw, and then make sure it is JSON. So inside here, I will add a JSON for category. Now, it needs to match whatever spelling that is here. If what you are typing here doesn't match the spelling you are accepting here, then it will not work. So most times I come back to copy it. So I'm very sure it will match. I'll paste this here. I want to pick a category here. Let's say anti-malaria. I'll copy anti-malaria category, paste it here, and send. Now it returns, if you check, the category here is anti-malaria, the category here is anti-malaria. If I come back to copy anti-diabetic and then change this to anti-diabetic and send, you see it has changed to return the categories for antibiotics. Now this endpoint, this is the basics. The front end will be counting on you to build endpoints like these. These are called reusable endpoints. They can use it for different things, even though it is on the same database. So you don't hard code them. Some people will hard code it, which they did. You don't hard code it. They can always change the category here at the top, or even here as a query. We're going to get to that part. So that's the next thing we want to do is the next question. The next question says, did I copy? Is my endpoint? Yeah, it's correct. It says names of manufacturers. Return an array of objects showing each drug's name and the manufacturer. So I will come back again. App dot, is it a get request or a post request? Is a get request. So I'll come back again. App.get, copy the endpoint, which is drugs, manufacturer, and this. Paste it here. Put a callback function that is going to handle the request. Sorry, this is wrong. It has to be inside here. Yeah. The request and the response. So it's supposed to take the drugs and say cons, drug names, and manufacturers. Or the spelling may not be correct. Is equal to drugs dot map, and take each one, return an object. It says to return an object, return an array of objects. We know map is going to return an array, but if it's returning an object, it will return more than one. So this is going to be showing the drug name and the manufacturer. Drug name and manufacturer. So I'll say here, open the object, drug name is going to be each dot name, comma, manufacturer is going to be each dot manufacturer, and save. That is it. The next thing would be to return the JSON, res.json, drug name and manufacturer. Save it. Is the return keyword compulsory? Because I didn't without the return keyword. Now, if it is the last thing in the API, you don't need the return keyword. Here is not compulsory if it is the last thing. But in this case that I'm returning a response, it's not the last thing in this API. If I don't put the return keyword, this may run when there is no category, but it will also try and run these ones. So the return keyword is used to specify the last line to run, or you mean the return keyword for the mapping. Now, if you don't add these curly braces, you don't need return, but if you do, you need return. So I'll save that and test this out on Postman. Come to Postman, change the request type, and change the name. Paste this and send. It's not a post request, it's a get request. Send. Now I have the drug name and the manufacturer. Drug name and the manufacturer. Just like that. The drug name and the manufacturer, drug name and the manufacturer. All right, we still have time. The next one says, return the drugs where prescription only is true. So I shouldn't an array. But this is coming as an array. Is it not an array? This is an array. What you are talking about, adding an array here, is wrong, because this will be turning each one. For these loops, we are going through each one. Then for each one, we combine all of them together like this. So this is returning each one as an object. But if you add an array here, you are returning each one as an array of objects. Each particular one will be an array of its own. Another one, an array of its own. And you group all the arrays into another array, which is wrong. You are returning each one as an object. And finally, they will all be returned as an array. If you run the project, if you run it, when you build it, you run it, you will see that it's not giving you exactly what is in the question. But it's fine, which is why I am doing it. Prescriptions only. Now, this one, some persons did it differently, in a different way. It's fine. There are so many ways to do a particular thing. So I will come back here and say app.get. Paste this URL. Tracy. Put a callback function that will accept the request and the response. So we want to take prescriptions only const prescribed drugs. What did I write? Prescribed drugs is equal to drugs dot filter drugs, not drug. Drugs dot filter. Filter is going to accept the callback function, taking each one. So we return where each dot prescription, we're not getting it. I'm not getting IntelliSense, so it's wrong. When you are typing and you don't get IntelliSense, you stop and find out why. Something may be wrong. Filter will return based on a condition. Filter returns based on a condition. But map is going to return first. Is drug different from this? Now, they are the same thing. They will do the same thing. But this is called destructuring. Here we are destructuring. Destructuring means we are pulling something, a key, out from an object. The request body is an object. So we are pulling this key out of it. But this one, you are not pulling anything. You are taking the request body and calling dot the object. There is a key inside the object, dot the category. and you are saving it inside here. So it's more like you are taking a variable that is inside the body and saving it inside another variable. But here, you are just picking out the variable that is inside the object directly. You are not saving it inside a new variable. So they are not the same thing, but they will do the same thing. Filter and map, we may look at it, but let's just, filter returns a particular or an array of objects based on a condition. Map just returns a new set of array. A new set of array, however format, whatever format you want to return. Whatever format, it just returns a new set of array. But filter will return a new set of array based on a condition. For example, here it says the condition is prescription only is supposed to be true. That is the condition. So when you see return something based on a condition, that is filter. This one say return a new array where each item is a string. There is no condition here. It's a string like this. There is no condition here. But this one say return all drugs where the stock is less than 50. The stock is less than 50. That is a condition. Here, return all drugs where prescription only is false. That is a condition. So when you see a condition, automatically it's filter. Say return each dot is prescription only equal to true, and res.json return prescribed drugs. Save it. Test out this endpoint on Postman. So I think I may have to reuse some of these. I don't want to be creating so many of them. Paste this and send. Yeah, if you look at these things, each prescription is true in all of them. That's one way. So if you want to do the opposite, which is this second one, because I don't want to do it. This one says its prescription is false. This one says its prescription is true. So if you want to do for this one, it's the same thing, but you turn it the opposite. So you just change this to false. You change this to false, and that will solve the second one, which is this particular one. Then let's do this one. There are so many of them. We may finish them, we may not. I just want to take 1 hour for them. You know what? I think we've done quite a number of them. So I want to guess from you, which one should I do before we end this particular phase? Which one should I pick? I've done from here till here. So which one should we do? Number 9, 9, 10, and 10. Count. This count, a lot of persons failed it. So I think we should do this one first. Accept a manufacturer in the body. This one is the same thing like the category we did above. It's the same thing. You are accepting the manufacturer and then filtering to make sure it matches the manufacturer. It is. So, but let's do it. Let's do that one. Let's do the manufacturer. So I'll come here, say app.post, because you are accepting in the body. And the endpoint name is this one. Okay, I think this one has count, the same count that this one has. A lot of persons failed the count part. Paste this. A callback function that will accept the request object and the response object. Come back here and say, what is the name again? Manufacturer count. Let's use this variable, manufacturer count. Const manufacturer count is equal to drugs dot first. We are accepting manufacturer in the body, so we need to accept that in the body. So I will come here. I will destructure because I like destructuring, and please join me to destructure. Most times you do this, most times you don't, but I like doing it this way. What this means is there is going to be manufacturer in the body, so I'm pulling it out from the body. Drugs.filter filter will accept the callback function and ask it to return where each one, you need to accept each one first. Return each one dot manufacturer is equal to the manufacturer that will be passed in. So what I'm doing is I'm taking all the drugs, accepting each one, then returning each one, the ones that their manufacturer is matching the manufacturer that is coming from the body. I am using double equals here, not a single equal. Some persons use single equal here. I actually thought length would be used. Yes, length will be used. Length will be used. Because we are just returning the array. When you return the array, here it says the count. It didn't say return the array. The count is the number of items in it. So there are so many ways to return the count, but first you need to filter it first. Here I can then say res.json. Inside the res.json, manufacturer count, no, dot length. That is what it's asking for. Manufacturer count dot the length. So this is just filtering them to return an array, but you need to count how many items are in that array. That is what the count means. So if I test this out on Postman, I can come here. Where is that post request? Here, and change this to this. This has to be manufacturer. Make sure it's matching this spelling here, and change this. Then get a manufacturer. Which manufacturer do I want to use? Buyer. Then change this here. Send. Is returning 2. So that means buyer has 2 items. Now, to be very, or will I say very correct, we can return both the count and the drugs, the array itself. So I will come here. I will say this is the count. I'll put an object here. This is the count. And then this is the drugs. Save it now. If I try this again, I have count is 2 and the number of drugs is 2, like that. So this is, well, what we're interested in is in the count. I didn't spell the count very well, but that's fine. The last thing, I think that's actually it. So that is the same thing here. If it's asking you to count and return, so that is what you're going to be doing here. You count and you return. All right. I think we're actually done with this phase. I had to do this one first. The 10 is the same thing. The 10 is the same thing. So it's the same thing which I just did here. You return the count. This is the count. And you return the drugs. So you count it and you return the drugs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take that break now and come back later. Do I need to push this to GitHub or when we're done with today's class? We're coming back by 5. Let's just take a 1-hour break. And the reason is because we have a lot to cover. A lot to cover. Which if we don't add extra time, we may not cover it by the end of this program. Then we need to. I don't know how this will work, but did you run it? Did you see what you want in Postman? If you did, then it's fine. But if you don't see it on Postman, then it's wrong. All right, guys. Bye. See you later by 5 p.m. I'll try and push this now and then share the link.